Info evening part 2. Good. Last week we got started with the topic, and that same evening I received a few more WhatsApp messages. A lady who was there said, "Man, I smoke. My 17-year-old son, he smokes too. And my ex-husband, he's sleeping in the car because of alcohol." So things are really happening with people. We've picked up addictions over the course of time, and we want to get rid of them. That's what it's about. Get free. So how I can find my freedom. This is a very important topic. And I think it's great that 118 people have registered for this topic. That is, of course, absolutely brilliant, because those 118 people will also get the recordings for tonight. So there seems to be interest and also a real need for it, because there aren't many people left who don't have an addiction. Yes, so many people have developed an addiction over time. Addiction is usually when I want to, but I can't. Yes, so I want to stop, but I just can't do it anymore. Or I feel totally restless, irritable, and unbalanced because I can't have it right now. And I keep going, even though there are negative consequences, right? So addiction begins where freedom ends. We looked at that last time. We also looked at some brains last time. I hope your brain looks like the one on the top left and the one on the top right. That's what I wish for you. That you have an upper skull and a lower skull like that, so that it looks exactly like that for you. I hope it doesn't look like this, full of holes like Swiss cheese. Nothing against Switzerland. I was just in Switzerland this weekend, gave 7 lectures on leadership, growth, and impact. It's a bit like home. We lived in Switzerland for 7 years, so I love Switzerland, but we don't need a Swiss brain. I mean, sorry, not a Swiss cheese brain. You can have the Swiss brain, but not a Swiss cheese brain. We don't want to have that, just full of holes. I mean, not all Swiss cheeses have holes, yes. But let's take an Emmental cheese, for example. So your brain shouldn't look like that. Yes, so neither from smoking, nor from marijuana, yes, nor from any opiates or cocaine, yes. It all has a certain impact on our brain. Even if some say, yes, but marijuana isn't addictive. Aha, yes, but look at the holes it drills in there. Or right here as well. We also looked at this picture of a moderate drinker, 2 to 4 glasses of wine per evening. And even there, it also has an effect on the brain for a moderate drinker. And you know, that's a great storage disk we have up there, and it's bad if it breaks. Yes. It's what if something disappears? We also looked at this brain here. That's a grateful brain, clearly visible on the left side. And on the right, someone who doesn't know how to get rid of bitterness, hate, anger, and rage. Yes. So that also has an impact on our brain. Actually, we should scan the brains. I have a happiness mind. The Academy program, it lasts between 9 and 12 months. Some stay even longer, 24 or 36 months. Actually, you should scan the brain when the participants start, and then again after 9, 12 months. That would be exciting, yeah, to see what has happened there in those 9 to 12 months. We definitely hear about it. There are many reports from those who participate that things change in life, but it would be exciting if we had that possibility. We've looked at together also that addiction naturally has consequences too. Everything we put into the ground, so to speak, comes out eventually, right? Whether it's weeds or whether it's fruit or grain or whatever we've planted, what we plant, that will somehow come up eventually. We know that it's super expensive. We talked about it last time. It costs you time, it costs you money, it costs you health, it costs you nerves, and probably much more. The crazy thing is really that self-esteem drops sharply with addictions. And that's not good. Yeah, because you need self-esteem in all sorts of situations. You need self-esteem at work too, very, very much. Yeah, so if someone goes to work with very, very low self-esteem, they won't have it easy. Yeah, because most people who are bullied are not the ones with healthy self-esteem. But it's mostly those who how should I put this nicely, who somehow have such low self-esteem. Because then people think, oh, I can just pick on them anyway. Yeah. They won't fight back. Yeah, the victim is then sought out. And usually it's those with low self-esteem. So going to work with low self-esteem, it's not worth it. In many ways, not. Because you'll be treated accordingly. And the customers notice it too, yeah. So it's really important that we just stand by ourselves healthily. that we are at peace with ourselves. We just talked about it in the English happiness mind because it's also available in English, how important it is to accept yourself. Yeah. And from acceptance, I accept myself. We then move to the next point. I respect myself. Yeah. From acceptance to respect. And if you have no respect for yourself, for your own self, how should your boss, your secretary, your employees, your colleagues, your parents, your children, your partner have that? Can you explain that to me? Yeah, that's going to be difficult, right? So, um, I think it's really important we start in the psychological area that we just say, I stand by myself, I accept myself. And not just a little bit or in a minimal or insignificant way, but I truly and wholeheartedly accept myself. Really and honestly, I do with my mistakes because they are part of it too. Yes, honestly, with all my little rough edges. What do you say, Arthur? Full acceptance, right? That is really important. And that decision, no one can make it for you. Because if you only accept yourself when you say, yes, when I'm perfect, or when I have more money, or when I have this position, or this training, when I look like this, if you only accept yourself, then you'll always have an opponent inside you. Yes. And you feel it, others feel it, then you're not at peace. You're not calm. Yes. And then you're helping the addiction, so to speak. Yes, it's like if addiction were to open its arms and say, yes, Dirk, it's great that you're here. Yes. Without wanting to pin that on Dirk somehow, but I'm saying it. Do you see what I mean? So this acceptance, well, it's not always that easy with other people either, is it? Maggie? Is acceptance always easy to accept another person? No. Not Agnes says no, right? So it's not just not the easiest thing because we accept people quite easily when they're so nice and friendly and likable, right? Just very easy. Yes, it's very easy to accept people. But what if someone isn't so nice or isn't so friendly, or maybe even has a flaw right now that we might have magnified within ourselves? Because usually we find the flaws in others that we have much more strongly in ourselves. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't even see them. Yes. And then acceptance becomes even harder for us. Yes, you're on the bus, someone comes in, and maybe they talk loudly or listen to music or whatever. And just like that, acceptance is gone. Yes. Yes. And to practice that and say, I accept people. Yes. I make a very conscious decision. I accept people. And then another very important exercise is I accept myself. Tonight, you can start that tonight. You don't have to wait. Yes. Because acceptance, that is a personal direct decision. And that's where it starts. And if you don't do it, then respect is missing, right? And if respect is missing, then there's no appreciation, no valuing, appreciation in English, right? And if I don't value the person, right, with their values, yes, then it all becomes such an absolute downward spiral. And then it just pulls you down. Yes. I can't even get out of it anymore. And addiction always opens its arms and says, yes, it's great that you're here, Regina. Yes, great. Alexandra, Ulrich, Gabby, Doris, Dorit, Andreas, Suzanne. Yes, brilliant. Yes. Come on, I'll give you something. Exactly what you need right now. Yes. A little something to calm down, or maybe a little bit to perk you up, or just a little bit like now you don't have to think about it anymore. Now no one's bothering you anymore. Yes, and so on and so forth. Yes. But that's just really our big challenge. Um, if we have difficulties there and don't make any progress, that we then also don't reach this fulfilling love. I always say love has stages. It starts with acceptance, then it goes to respect, then it goes to admiration. I admire someone, yes. If I don't admire someone, then I can't appreciate their values either. And if I don't appreciate their values, then I don't reach love either. Love isn't just there like that. Oops, now it's here. Oops, now it's gone. But acceptance, yes, respect, English appreciation, admiration, then the values, and then love. It's like a step upwards, yes. And we'll see later on that's very important because we have great needs, every one of us who is human. Unless you're just a robot and you're only functioning. But every human being has needs, has longings. Yes. And if you now have that one deep longing that you are loved, or maybe have a deep longing that you are seen, or have a deep longing that you are appreciated, that you are respected, right? Or does one of you not have these values? It's normal, somehow inherent in us, right? Yes, thanks, Arthur, for nodding a bit. That's already good. Yes, I only have 4 or 5 people here whose faces I can see. I have to talk to you right now because my talk is only alive if I see you, you see me, and you react a bit to it. Yes. And that's totally exciting. So every one of you wants acceptance, right? Respect, admiration, appreciation, love. Yes, those are very, very, very important points. But it always starts with you. You can't demand it from your parents, children, friends, colleagues, or anything else. And they have to appreciate me. They have to see me. They have to respect me. They have to accept me. They don't have to do anything in the first place. Anyone can reject you. Anyone can hate you. Anyone can dislike you. But that's only okay as long as you accept yourself, respect yourself. The way some people talk to themselves is quite intense. So, quite apart from how they talk to others, yes, but talking to themselves. I'm a fool, I'm an idiot, and so on and so forth. Yes, then all sorts of words come out. Then I think to myself, hey, no, 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 that's not good. Acceptance, respect, admiration, appreciation. And then comes love. So you see, this point about self-worth, when it just says self-worth drops, that's not a small thing. When self-worth drops, you really have a hard time in life. It's really tough in all areas. So a healthy sense of self-worth is really important. And that's why I also wrote a book about it in 50 days, yeah, to the masterpiece of your self-worth. If you say, "Hey, I want that book. It's going to print now," okay? You'll have to get in touch at our office. Dirk already wants it. Very nice. And it's best to contact Jani. Most of you have our email. Just get in touch. Write back, "Hey, I'm interested in the book." And when it's printed, it's going, I think, if I'm not mistaken, tomorrow or the day after to the printer. And then in 1 or 2 weeks, you should have the book. And then if you say you'd like to have it, then we'll see about sending it to you. Okay. So self-worth is super important. This low self-efficacy, we talked a bit about that last time too. It always means when you plan something and then don't do it, you weaken your self-efficacy. Let's say you said today, tonight, I want to go to Chris's place, and then you didn't go after all. A small loss of self-efficacy, yeah. Or you said today, well, today I want to do 10 push-ups. Tomorrow 12, and maybe by the end of the week I'll manage 15. I don't know how fast your muscles grow. Maybe you can't do real push-ups, but you can do knee push-ups, or you do wall push-ups. Have you ever done that? So not ceiling, not on the ceiling, but on the wall. That's totally easy, yeah. But hey, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it on the wall. But you're strengthening your muscles with it. And whenever you set out to do something, do it. When you set out to do something, do it. That was also in the leadership training this weekend when I was in Switzerland. Something very important, yeah? Because many people come to seminars and listen and say, yeah, that was good and not so good. It resonated with me or resonated less. It was great or whatever. Yes, that's quite nice, yeah. Also, the feedback after that, also in the big happiness mind group, which we have with almost 130 people. If you put feedback in there, yeah, post the feedback there. What interests me most, of course, is what you take away. But ultimately, what interests me most is what do you implement? And many are just so used to it. When they go to a seminar somewhere or to training or whatever, you know it from your further education in the company too. You hear something. There were 5,000 people together in one day. Yeah. The next day, the day after, 3 days later, a week later, it's already forgotten again. That's why I also set up my program for executives and employees where we're together for a whole year, where I share online, share. Yeah, so that the horse doesn't stop. Yeah. So movement is a necessity for all of us, and it's important that we are in motion. Yeah. And there are also horse stables where the horses are brought into a circle like that, and then they run in a circle. That's such a lazy way for the rider themselves. And the best thing is, of course, when the rider mounts and rides. Yeah. But even the horse must be moved. Yeah. Otherwise, it stands there and eats a bit. Yeah, and just eats a bit if it's even allowed out of the stall. But what's also important to us is this self-efficacy, yeah, that we really say, if I read a book now, if I listen to a seminar, If I'm at a training session that you always let me show you this here. I'll just stop this here for a moment. Um, where can I draw here? It worked somewhere. There's my whiteboard. You'll have to tell me briefly if you see my whiteboard. I'm just starting my whiteboard. Do you see my whiteboard?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Thanks. So always, never go to a seminar without this tea. Yeah. Always go to a seminar. Always have the tea with you. Here comes the info. Yeah. And some of you are doing that. I think it's totally great. They don't just look at the screen, but they take notes. Yeah. Everything you learn is then written down here. Yeah. That's important, but that's not all. That's only, let's say, 50% or less. The super important and the very important thing, that's how I go into my seminars, is that you write on the right. That's the implementation. Yeah. What do I really want to implement? And when exactly do I want to implement it? Yes, that's actually very important. Always with a T, because otherwise you're training your head. Yeah, I'll just listen and then I'll just make a judgment. It was good, it wasn't good. Hey, the judgment is secondary. That's not so important at all. The important thing here is the implementation. Yeah, that you become, as the Americans always say, master of execution. Yeah, master of execution. Yes, that is something very important. And that's how, at least for me, a seminar is twice as much fun. Yeah, because then I always have my tea book with me and then, or a piece of paper with me, and then I do that. Yeah. So there you can really become strong now in 2026. Whoever, what you hear, do it. Hear, do, hear, implement, hear, act. Okay. So definitely no procrastination. And yeah, sometime I'd like to go cycling. Yeah. Sometime I'd like to go for a run. Yeah. Sometime I'd like to go swimming. Yeah. Sometime I'd like to start with the cold water application. Yeah. Sometime I'd like to switch to a plant-based diet. Yeah. Sometime, yeah. But what you set out to do, you should then really implement. And with that, you strengthen your self-efficacy muscle. Great. And we really need that too. We need it because I want to do a 3-day challenge with you so we can say, hey, let's get to it. I mean, really get to it. This 3-day challenge is absolutely brilliant. It doesn't take 6 weeks, it's just 3 days. But in those 3 days, you'll see how much you achieve and how you get out. Out of the addictions, it's a turbo program. And that's why we want to start with self efficacy now before the 3-day program even begins. We need that. And for self efficacy, you also need a stronger belief in yourselves. Then you'll notice, aha, it's working again. Oh, it's going again. Yes. And that is I'm telling you, it doesn't take long. Weeks and months and years, this self efficacy. At the ARC, you might know the ARC.de, we always have depression treatments. There will be one on the 22nd of February again. It's just north of Berlin in northern Germany. And people with depression come there, and their self efficacy isn't strong either. Initially, after 3 or 4 days, self efficacy increases. And after a week, you have to struggle to keep up with them because they're really going for it. They're motivated because life is coming back, yes. And then things really take off. And that's what we want to do too. So, not like, yeah, I'm just sitting in a hammock and watching a little bit, and then I turn it off again. And then I think about it for a while. Well, that's all well and good, but we want to shift into high gear now and strengthen our self efficacy. Yes, and we don't need that anymore. Because we were just talking earlier, okay, of course it's good when you're addicted to feel a sense of disgust, but we don't want to be disgusted with ourselves, but with the addiction, right? So disgust for the cigarette, disgust for the bottle, disgust for certain images, or whatever the addiction is, yes. People feel disgusted with themselves because they say, oh, I failed again, and I've promised myself this so many times. And my promises are just built on sand. So I can't even believe myself anymore, and so on, right? But then you're taking away too much of your own power. Yes, you're really taking away far too much power, but we need that power. An addiction, no matter how small it is, can be very powerful. But no matter how it built up, we're going to deflate that addiction and give you your power back. And disgust, we ultimately link that to what you want to get rid of because otherwise it won't work, right? We'll get to a question later that I received today via WhatsApp. I thought it was really great, so I included it here. We'll look at it, but we have to reverse the disgust. Yeah, so right now there's a love for the addiction, whatever it may be. A piece of cake every day, I have to have a piece of cake. Or every day I have to have a croissant. Or every day I have to have my coffee. Or every day I have to have that. I don't know what your addiction is, but there's a love there now. You go to Chibo or wherever, and you're already inhaling all that coffee, right? And then At some point, you say, man, I've been sleeping so poorly for weeks and months. I'm just exhausted. Could it maybe have something to do with the coffee after all? But how do I get rid of it? Unfortunately, it's also a great addictive substance. Yeah. It doesn't let go of me quite so quickly. You really have 3 days of headaches. It's roughly similar, give or take, to nicotine in terms of strength. Yeah. Caffeine, nicotine are about equally strong. After 3 days, you're rid of both. It takes 3 days. So it doesn't take a week, not a month, like with heroin or cocaine, but after 3 days, you're clean. You just have terrible headaches with caffeine. Yeah. Terrible. At least most people who then get rid of it. But by the fourth day, you're clean. Yeah. The body has gone through withdrawal. Yeah. My interns sometimes experience that when they come along with me. As you know, I also offer a coaching training program. If you go to my website, lenart.com, you'll see the coaching training I offer there. That takes 2 or 2.5 years. In relation also to Viktor Frankl, who combined psychology and coaching. And then the interns often come along with me to the Arche when I go for the depression treatment. And then suddenly there's no coffee there. And then they're in withdrawal. Yeah. Unless they go to the nearest town and smuggle in coffee, so to speak. But most of them go through withdrawal first. Severe headaches, right? But it subsides. The good thing is it really does subside. After 3 days, it's gone. Yeah. So many addictions subside after a few days. There are stronger addictive substances that don't subside after 3 days, of course. That takes a little longer. Last time you heard from Florian, who went through cold turkey twice. For a whole month in the canton of Fribourg from heroin and cocaine? Yeah. So he was sweating quite a lot, just as you might expect. Sweating too, yeah? I always say he sweated blood. But he made it. 2 months of cold turkey. No substitution, nothing at all, yeah. It was tough, yeah. But I tell myself, hey, how exhausted he was, how little strength he had, and he still made it. Yes. And you're in better condition, better shape. You have more power, more strength. You'll make it too if you want to. But we'll get to that. In any case, what we have to learn here is please, no self disgust. You can develop a sense of disgust, and that's super important with addiction. We have a love for what we do. That's why we do it. We love it. It has benefits. It does something good for me. You can't demonize it and say all addictive substances are bad. Yes, they're not good. We know that intellectually, but your psyche says this feels good. And you believe your psyche. Yeah. You say it just feels good. Biting into this chocolate cake, into this Sasha tort, it makes our mouths water. Yeah. It just feels good. Yeah. Whatever your addiction is, it feels good to you. And that is the problem. That's why the addiction stays with us and doesn't want to leave. And we don't want it to leave either. Yeah. So it's with us. It stays with us. We love it. We cherish it. We nurture it. Yeah. And that's kind of the problem. I'll draw it out for you here. Some of you in happiness minds might recognize this drawing. Can you see my board again? Yes. So what we have here is the love for the addiction. That is why we are addicted. Here would be the disgust for the addiction. But right now, we're just wired that way. That's definitely how it is. And to get away from that, we would actually have to do the following. We have here the love for the addiction. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You'll probably have to scroll down as well. And here we say, well, we don't have any freedom here yet. We also actually, well, intellectually, we say, yes, being free, that would be nice. That's more or less why you signed up here. But on the other hand, it says, well, this right here is much nicer. I get some kind of reward at the end of the day. It's not good. It's not cheap. It's maybe not kosher or not, right? Not moral, not Christian, whatever. I don't know what it isn't, but still, you currently have a deep love here. With that, you're in love, engaged, probably even married. And the trick in the 3 day challenge will be to gradually strengthen this love so much that it eventually turns into a true love for freedom. So you say, hey, without this addictive substance, without chocolate, without alcohol, without smoking, without, it's just so gigantic. I'm really in love with my new life, with my freedom. That's what we'll work towards in the 3 day challenge. And that you ultimately have such a disgust here where all these little hearts we had before, oops, the wrong thing disappeared, I have to redraw it, those little hearts disappear, and the disgust is there for this addiction. That means something disappeared there too. That the love for freedom is what we want to strengthen, and strengthen hate, the aversion to the addiction. So if it's coupled like it's been coupled so far, like we had before, in the original image, so here was this image one, and this is now image two. If it's like this now, then it simply doesn't work. Then you can say as much as you want, get away from your addiction, you don't want it anymore. You can cry, whatever. It's just not going to work with this parallel layer we have, love for addiction. And I'm not ready yet to let go of the addiction. That doesn't work. We have to reverse the poles really from minus to plus. There has to be a real short circuit in you. Yes. So we reverse the poles and shift them, what you love now and what you'll feel disgust for later, right? Only that way. Only that way will you get free from addiction. Everything else will be super difficult or maybe even impossible. Good. Let's go back to the recording here. So the accusations, that's all well and good. Yeah. If you blame yourself, but honestly, that just doesn't really get you anywhere, right? So that makes you weak again. And we need a strong Daniel. We need a strong Ulrich. We need a strong Steffi. Yeah, we need a strong Alexandra to get out of this addiction. That's why we're practicing now in small self-efficacy steps. Yeah, if you say, hey, I want it every day, and that's doable. With any thigh, it's doable. I want to do 100 squats per day. Yeah, many of you go skiing and snowboarding anyway, and so on and so forth, right? But whether you do it or not, hey, you have a strong thigh. The thigh muscle with the butt is the strongest muscle in the whole body. Yeah, it's relatively large. A biceps, which men always train, it's relatively small. And even if you train it, it will get bigger. But in relation to the whole body, it's small, the biceps. The triceps isn't very big either, or the deltoid muscle, whatever. But your thigh muscle is your largest muscle. Yeah. In connection with the butt, it gets even larger, right? And if you say now, hey, I'm doing 30, 35 squats, then you take a 2, 3 minute break and then you do another 30, 35 because almost anyone can do 30, 35 squats unless you have knee problems. And then you take a break and you say to yourself, phew, that really burned. Yeah. And then you do another 30, 35 squats. So sports is good training for self-efficacy, right? And then you have your 100 and then you celebrate and you say, I started today, I made it. Yeah. You're happy about that. And these victories, these small victories we need. Because later, when we get to the real hot potatoes, yeah, you can't doubt anymore and maybe and could be. And oh, I don't know, Kris, if I can do it, right? You say, no, hey, look, I did it tonight with the 100 squats. I can do the other thing too. That's why the 3 day challenge. But the 3 day challenge starts next Thursday. That means you have Wednesday is tomorrow exactly. Wednesday, Thursday, plus Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to build self efficacy. Okay. But please don't strengthen it in the area where you want to get free from addiction, but where you say, hey, drink water. Now I'll drink 2.5 liters, 3 liters a day, right? Today I'm training my self efficacy. And you practice self efficacy in an area where you don't have the addiction. Very important. Very important. Yes, and you plan this 2 or 3 points until next Thursday. Strengthen self efficacy. Right. No ifs or buts, no discussion. In your head, like a colleague from America said, that when you make a decision, then you've made the decision, then there's no No more self discussion. Was that good? Was that not good? Should I do it? No, I'm doing it wrong anyway. What should I do? No. Hey, let's go. The decision is made. That is self efficacy, right? And that's why we won't weaken ourselves anymore. We've seen it. We've accepted it. We've cried about it, wailed, ignored it for a while. But now we've become aware of it. Now it's already awesome. Most people don't even see that they're in an addiction. Yes, that we've become aware of it. And now it's on. Now it starts, whatever it is. Then next week, 3 day challenge. Maybe it's gaming. Maybe it's, or you say, hey, I'm addicted to Red Bull or whatever. There are all kinds of addictions. Yes. Or TikTok addicted, Instagram addicted, Facebook addicted. Yes, intense addictions. You don't get rid of them so easily. But in the 3 day challenge, we tackle them. So goodbye to those things. Yes. And lack of self love. Yes, that comes from addiction when you unfortunately go downhill. Yes, so it's not just that I'm addicted, but most people get into such a spiral that they pay less attention to themselves. Yes, there's also less self care and less healthy eating, less healthy movement. So this addiction pulls the whole person down in a downward spiral. And we don't need that. So we need a healthy self love. Yes. And then the cheerfulness also comes back, right? So some of you, I can already see it in your faces. You would need the happiness mind seminar. Yes, that is very important because being happy, the joy, that is just our strength. Whether you believe it or not. Yes, I've spoken about that quite a bit now. Over the weekend in Switzerland, we said, hey, so if you lose happiness, you lose strength. Yes, joy equals strength. Already a concept that has been valid for over 2,000 years, already over 2,000, 3,000 years, one could say, right? Joy is my strength. It's always like a barometer. On the barometer of joy, you see how much power and strength you have. Much joy, much power, little joy, little power. You know that, right? You get up in the morning and think, oh, yeah, little joy, little power. And that's a good barometer. And that's why we actually want to stay in this happiness. Yes, stay in this joy because we know it's our power. And then there are some happiness killers and we want to get them out of our lives. One of them, not the only one, but one of them or a big part is also addictions. And that's why you've made the right decision saying, tonight I'll take the time. Tonight I'll go to the second seminar and listen to it. And who knows, maybe you'll even be part of the 3 day challenge. That would be absolutely awesome. So the costs, we looked at those intensively last week, what it costs you. So you could rather invest that better in some kind of apartment that you buy, right? Let's say plus or minus 30,000 euros. And then you can invest in a small apartment, yeah? Or alcohol addiction, look at that, 40 to 90,000, then you can already buy a small apartment. 90, 100,000, that's just crazy. And very dangerous. Casino addiction, gambling addiction. It's not just the casino, also these little things you buy, yeah? Oh, I could win, I could win. What people spend there, we also looked at last time, 10 to 200,000 euros. Euros in just a few years. Yes, so really, that's a very extreme addiction, yeah? But there are ways out there too. You just have to know how when you get out of there. But I was also able to help someone who had a severe casino addiction. And accordingly, I just think, hallelujah, he got out, right? Yes, and companies are being harmed. Some of you have companies or are executives. In Germany, it's calculated at 25 to 80,000. In Austria, it's a little bit less. And in Switzerland, up to 125,000 Swiss francs in damages per employee if someone becomes addicted due to all the missed hours, mistakes that happen, lack of motivation, and so on and so forth. So it's really not a marginal issue, it's a competitive disadvantage, and everyone on the team counts. Um, And therefore, prevention is, of course, one of the most profitable investments for companies in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And I think we should look at that more often in our training courses. Um, you're also welcome to invite me to your company to give lectures on this. We also looked at an addiction rarely comes alone, it almost always brings a twin with it. Smoking and coffee often go together, gaming and pornography often go together. Workaholism, so workaholic, the addiction that I working and working. Some people don't see that at all. I just work a lot, haven't been on vacation for 7 years, blah, blah, blah. I work on weekends too, and I take the work home with me. So welcome to two to the addiction, yeah, to the alcohol addiction. And that is, of course, very often with stimulants that go along with it, or with sleeping pills, or with certain drugs to then come back down afterwards. Yeah, on the one hand, I have to push myself. On the other hand, I have to push myself down and find peace again. I just got an inquiry about this as well, whether I could coach someone. He does so much and he can't manage to come down in the evening. I still have to answer that I there, whether I could help him there. Good. So if I now get out of an addiction, that's very important also for you. Some of you already started last week, made an attack on the addiction, at least on one. Yeah. Or if you come to the 3 day challenge next week, then I have to tell you right now, watch out. Yeah. So don't fight one and go into the next one. Yeah, that happens really often. Yeah, very often. Yeah. So we really want to go into freedom. So not somehow look for a substitute. I'll call it that for now, a substitute drug, but into absolute freedom, really into freedom, to then breathe there on this beautiful mountain. I think Gabby and Arthur described it so beautifully in the WhatsApp group last time. I don't know if you're in the WhatsApp group, you're welcome to join. I don't know, Janja, if we have the link right there. Otherwise, we can put it in the chat. Um, and Gabby and Arthur gave such nice feedback there. Yeah, like how brilliant is it when you're on the mountain and you've made it, right? This freedom. And that's just really important. So don't measure by whether you've made it or not how much strength you have. Strength is secondary, especially if you manage the overcoming in a team afterwards. Yeah, because in a team it's just easier. You also know that I'm a person of faith and I always bring the good Lord into the team, into the boat with us. It's quite powerful what he adds there as well. Yeah. So he's the best team player there is. And the best, I always say, co-speaker there is at all, um, because yeah, you've seen it so many times. Whether you're a believer now or not, yeah, that's also actually secondary. But the team that accompanies you to get out of your addiction, if that's also a team of faith and then also uses the power of prayer, then you have like an afterburner. Yeah. Then even more miracles happen. Yeah. That's like a bonus for you then. There's also this brilliant sentence, right? Whom the sun sets free, he is free indeed. Yeah, so some people go to India then whatever, and then they lie down on altars and pay a lot of money there too. But I don't know if you couldn't just save yourselves the trip. Maybe the good thing isn't even that far away. It's just maybe closer than we sometimes think. The options are simply like this: going on alone, fighting on alone, with many subjunctives. Back then, we learned in Latin there's an irrealist subjunctive, which is unreal. It has nothing to do with reality. And unfortunately, that's exactly what we use with addiction: would have, should have, could have, must have, eventually, and so on, right? That doesn't really get us anywhere. Altogether, I can remember back then in Linz, they were through a health association. What's the name now? In Germany, it's called DVG, but in Austria, it's called something a bit different. They did these smoking cessation seminars for, I think, 10 or 15 years. And it started in such a way that it was carried out in the hospital, yes, with this association. Austrian Society for Health. I think it's called in OGG. Could that be it? Anyway, but then I thought it was totally amazing because they did smoking cessation courses like a power challenge. That was 1 week. In 1 week they met, and in 1 week they became free. And then at the peak of the smoking cessation courses, they had 100 people in the hospital. 100 people who decided together, we are now going to be free from this one addiction. Yes, awesome. And then there was a follow-up meeting, right? But they really did it together. They got into the boat together, said, we can all do this. So it's not a competition. Woohoo, now I'm faster than Kirsty, or woohoo, now I'm faster than Suzanne or Maggie or whoever. But no, they said, we'll manage it together. And that's just this power, this strength. Sometimes I also get requests, can I have a one on one coaching session? I say, of course you can have one on one coaching, but group coaching is even stronger. Ah, no, I think I need one on one coaching. I say, you can have it, but it's more expensive. But group coaching is stronger. That's why I have the Happiness Mind programs, because you suddenly realize, aha, the other person isn't as holy as they look. They're going through the exact same thing as me. They have a problem too. They have a difficulty too. They're struggling with it too. Yes, it's crazy. I thought I was always the only one in this world, right? And then you suddenly realize, oh, yes, that's why group coaching is so amazing. Yes, so we want to ask ourselves tonight, and you can already start thinking about it. Either take the microphone here in the group now or chat by writing something in the chat. What do you think? What is your greatest need and the search for? What are you looking for? Because that's always a substitution, it's just a replacement. Addiction is always just a substitute for something. But tonight, we don't want to look at the addiction itself, but rather, what is it a substitute for? A substitute for what? What are you looking for? What is your actual need? Why do you consume it? Why do you carry it out? Why do you keep looking at it? Why do you do it over and over? What is that? Okay, that's one thing. But what is it that your heart truly longs for? There is a motivation. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it. You wouldn't spend so much money or do it in secret. Do it against your conscience, maybe even do it against your faith, do it against your partner, against your health, at the risk of maybe even being fired from your job and so on and so forth. Yeah, none of that would make any sense if that need wasn't there. And sometimes this need is just stronger than any rational thought. And we are human beings. We aren't robots. We don't just function, even if we sometimes think, I'm just functioning now. Yeah, but we have needs and we're looking for something. And some of us are simply looking for certainty. The regularity and the certainty. I have something there that I can rely on. Maybe not the best thing, but still. When I have that, then I feel a certain way. That is a certainty. That is a consistency. Yeah. That's just how it is. That's something the world can't just take away from me, or that just changes, but I have a certainty here. I don't know what you're looking for. It could be certainty. Let's just take a look at what else it could be. It could also be that you're looking for variety. You say, wow, this is so dull. Everything is so enmeshed. Yeah, it's also strict. Everything is so orderly. Everything's so clean. Everything's so, clinically pure. And now I have to break out of that. Yeah. Now I'm being disobedient. Now I'm being bad. Now I'm being different. Now I'm being completely different. Yeah. And then you break out of your corset, so to speak. Could be, yeah. Maybe you were raised very strictly religious. Or it's all like, wow, I have my tie on and my suit on, my shirt on. And that, yeah, it's all getting to me in the truest sense. Yeah. And now I just have to break out somehow. Now I just have to let loose. Yeah. By myself or with others. It could be variety. But it could also be that you're looking for significance. That's what the Americans say, significance. What does that mean in German? It could be that you just want to be significant. Man, people have written books or are on stages or have a certain amount of money or have a big car or a big house or can paint well or have long legs or long hair or I don't know what all they have. Yeah. And somehow the world gives them significance. People look at them. Some don't like it when they're looked at. But most people, even those who are shy and hide, I hear it again and again in coaching. Yes, I want to be seen. I want to be seen. Significance. To have meaning. You can get significance positively and, of course, negatively too. Standing out negatively, standing out positively. But the question is, what does every Samsung SMA 546B on the screen will long for something different than Doris or Dorit or Simone or Regina? Each of us longs for something else. What is it for you where you say, that's what I long for? And some of us long for a true connection. Connection. So not just hello, how are you? Nice to have you here. Well, it was nice. It was great. Yeah, wonderful. Quite apart from any Facebook friends. Haven't they changed that now? I don't think it's called friends anymore, right? But it's called followers now. They're not friends anymore. Now you follow someone. Still followers, but it's not a connection. People say, yeah, I have so many on my YouTube channel. I have so many Instagram followers now. 200,000. I don't know if it makes a difference. I mean, I haven't noticed a difference. Whether I had 200 followers or 500 followers, I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel any difference there. I can't feel it. Can you feel the difference? I don't feel it. He says he can't feel it either. So somehow I have no connection to that. I believe our heart doesn't long for followers and clicks and rates. And whatever it's called, but I believe our heart longs for real connection. Last autumn, we had couples at our training center where we practiced with them for a weekend on how they can connect. That's really beautiful. Going into that connection, I had a coaching session in Switzerland. They'd been married for over 20 years. They weren't even married back then. They said, "We've never felt so connected in our lives." Yes, that's a deep human need for many people, not all, but many, or to be loved. As Frankl says, it's not that you achieve something and that's why you're loved, but you are loved because of yourself. It just falls into your lap, Frankl says. You haven't done anything for it. True love, not conditional on if then, can be a deep human need. Or you have a need where you say, I want to grow. I'm so steady now, always the same. Somehow nothing is happening for me. I want to grow for once. That can also be a deep need. I want to grow. Or, and this isn't rare, especially from those doing the coaching training, they say to themselves, yeah, I've worked so much, I've learned so much, I've done so much. Now I need a purpose in life. I'd like to pass that on to someone else. I don't want to take it to the grave or into retirement with me. That's a shame. That's why many do coaching training and say, through coaching, I can pass on my knowledge, my experience, a life wisdom that makes more sense. Meaning in life, a very big need. If you've already, let's say, experienced a lot here, maybe certainty and variety and significance, yes, and maybe even growth in your life, yes, and you still feel empty, then it could be that it's connection and love that you're missing. Or, well, it could also be that meaning is missing in your life. That's another dimension, really a completely new dimension. You can also watch some of my YouTube videos about meaning, purpose, and so on. That's a completely different dimension. That comes on top of it. Most people live in two dimensions. Most psychology only moves in two dimensions. And the third dimension is then precisely this level of meaning. That's been missing for a long time. Frankl always says it's always this soulless psychology that exists. And that's why he tried to include meaning so strongly in psychology, in psychotherapy, in this humanities field. The realm of meaning that you absolutely have to look at that too. And that can, of course, happen with certain people in a certain phase, in a certain thought process, where I might have already checked off quite a few things here. And suddenly I say, what's the point of all this now? What meaning do I have there? So that can be a very strong need. And then, well, but then there's also the point, and Frankl isn't ashamed to talk about that either. You know, Viktor Frankl, the famous psychotherapist, psychiatrist who wrote the book Saying Yes to Life in Spite of Everything, with 29 honorary doctorates from the world's greatest universities, says, I'm not ashamed to talk about my faith. People talk about everything. If I ask them a question about faith, they sometimes blush. We're sometimes ashamed then. We say, oh, but that's private. But that can also be a need. I had a client who said, I've already tried so much and I do this and I do that and I do this and I do that and I do this. Then everything is actually fine, but I feel so empty. What should I do then? And I just said, maybe you should try it with faith. And she then looked for her way to faith. That too can be a great need and a search in our hearts. I don't know where you are right now, at what stage, but that's certainly another big topic. Faith, is that something where I have a great need, a great search? I'm far away from that. Two people were just discussing this in the WhatsApp group we have. Maybe you read along with that, right? Um, uh, and then he said, I can't do anything with that. Hmm? Then someone said, well, maybe there's something between heaven and earth that you can work with. Anyway, everyone is on a different path somewhere, right? But the most important thing tonight is that you really take a moment to think about it. And also, if you can, write something in the chat and say, hey, what do I feel is my greatest need right now? At this moment, Simone is currently writing recognition here. No faith, yes. But type it in, type it in. Yes, Hearing security, yes, Regina, really beautiful. Yes, that's something very beautiful. I once had a client who came from Nuremberg. She had a bar. She was married to an American who was stationed there in the military, officer so and so, tall, strong, muscular. She herself had two Great Danes. And she told me in coaching, sometimes I lie down with the Great Danes. They're there in the entrance area, and I lie down in their basket because I'm simply looking for security. Yes. So that was her great need, security. I feel secure. Yes. And it's totally beautiful that you're getting into it and feeling it. Um, Dirk says growth and meaning are very important to me, that I grow. Yes. If I don't have that, then I'm unbalanced. Yes. Then I don't know why I should put my toes on the floor in the morning and get up. Yes. Which is something very important. 516170 says being accepted. Yes. And it's so good that you write it down like that, this acceptance. Yes. Which of course also goes towards significance. Yes. And maybe even towards connection. And maybe even towards love. Yes. So the connection, being accepted, maybe even significance, love, 516170. That's a very big topic, being accepted. For example, we had at the Mallorca retreat last year. We're going again this year. We were there last year in October. This year we're going in May. When is the date? 24th of May. And we also did an exercise there um, where the person sat at the front and we looked at that person benevolently for about 5 to 10 minutes. Arthur was there. He knows it. We had 12 participants there. Every one of the participants said that this exercise was incredible. Yes. And maybe it's not quite so high on your list of needs or list of longings. Yes, being accepted. But when you do this exercise, then you see, aha, it must appear somewhere on your list. It must be there somewhere, right? So it's so beautiful, 516170, that you say, hey, my deepest need is being accepted. So accepting myself first, that's always a basic requirement, right? But ultimately from others too, yeah, family, boyfriend, girlfriend, colleague, coworker, wherever, fire department, yeah. The bad thing is there's always a little, what do you call it, devil around. Usually, right? There's always one somewhere um who has absolutely no desire to accept you or me or us, yeah? You know that, right? There's always one somewhere, isn't there? There's always one somewhere who pokes, who stings, who talks behind your back, who's nasty to you. You just feel it, yeah. No one likes that. Nobody likes that. And yet there's always that one person. Yeah. It's so stupid. But unfortunately, that's how it is. God help you if you're in some community where 80% reject you. You don't stay there long, do you? Well, unless you're somehow someone who likes pain. When you think, well, I have to stay now, you should probably rethink that. If 80% are against you, 90, 70, it doesn't just pass you by without a trace. And the addiction goes, woohoo, come to me, you'll get that here. Hey, do you see what I mean? So we always think the evil addiction, but it's also connected to our everyday life, right? So watch out for that. Yeah, if you're in toxic relationships. So either you make the relationship better, or sooner or later, you saddle your horse and gallop away. There are other people too. So I think it's so important what you've brought up and said here. Really, that's a very big point. Tabea says that's love, recognition, and meaning. We already see a combination of we have love here, significance, yeah, and meaning as well, yeah. So we have a whole package here, yeah. Meaning, I think you're on a journey there and searching for your meaning, right? Love you give, you receive, huh? Recognition, yeah, that's like we're really back to being accepted and getting that recognition, right? Not easy, yeah, not easy because the more, let's say Tabea, let's assume the more great, better, more famous you'd become, the more people there are who throw tomatoes. who are full of hate, who criticize you, who are envious, who are jealous, right? So you just always have to be careful when you take the path of significance, of importance. Yeah, that you also accept at the same time saying, oh, the path is already paved in a way that there are simply these haters. So the haters get stronger the more famous you become, and they get really nasty. Yeah, because they have such a feeling of hatred towards you because they vomit out everything they don't have. And you, so to speak, portray you as the villain, right? So we have Andrea. She says genuine connection. So that's something that totally fulfills her. And I know Andrea and can certainly confirm that as well. Andrea is such a connector. Yeah, she can connect well, but suffers accordingly quite a bit. Yeah, if it just doesn't connect, if it then bickers and bites and maybe the whole thing gets bumpy or something. Yeah. Yeah, that's of course a challenge, but something beautiful. Andrea, thank you for looking into your heart like that. We have Doris. For me, it's being seen. Yeah. Doris, we just talked a bit about significance, being seen, becoming visible. Some manage to be invisible, yeah. They do have the desire to be seen, but self-worth, self-efficacy, and so on, right? Then also a bit of the humor, being funny, the looseness, the let go-ness, right? All plays a big role in being seen. Because if you close your eyes for a moment, you were at some event, there were 10, 12 people, and you go through the people, you think to yourself, who was there? Huh? Someone was sitting there, you know that? And you can't figure it out. And those are the people who make themselves invisible in a group. They have this ability, like Tomoko, they're suddenly gone. Yeah, they're somehow, they make themselves invisible, but suffer from not being seen, that people don't talk to them, that they don't connect, and so on and so forth. So it's a beautiful need, quite a beautiful need. And there are just a few factors that we can incorporate accordingly. Simone also says being held in someone's arms. That also fits very well with what you said earlier in relation now to the sense of security, right? And then Dirk again. Oh no, that's from Irina, from your wife. Certainty. So certainty is very important to me. Yeah. So security. Yeah. Certainty, security. I can rely on something. I can trust someone. I can trust myself. I know how things will continue. I know where I am. The rug isn't just pulled out from under my feet. And now, hooray, it happens to some who maybe also have such a deep need like Irina for certainty. Suddenly it's gone. Someone dies, someone gets sick, you're let go, so dismissed from work. Um, and oof, oof, yeah. How do I deal with that now? Oof, yeah. And then open arms for any addictions is possible again. You see, so it's always like on the one hand, we long for it, we need it. Do we need these things, these needs? On the other hand, they can also pave a path into something bad. Yes, so that we really have to, I think, pay attention to that. So I have a need and I would also like it to be satisfied, but it cannot always be satisfied. Very important. Yes, Elizabeth Lucas told me that back then too. Someone who tries to hold on to the good feeling or the need or the longing is in great danger of becoming addicted. Yes, so it comes and it will also go away again. It is right here now, but I also let it go again. It's very, very, very important. Yes. I get to know myself. I know what's important to me, but I also know the flip side that there are also dangers involved. Yes. So that always think of this paved path. With it, a path to the negative can also be paved, even though it's actually a beautiful need. All needs are beautiful. Yes, just always, how do I deal with it? With hate, wrath, anger. That would be nice. It comes and it goes again, right? Bitterness, yes, it comes and it goes again. So don't hold on. These negative feelings too, don't hold on. Let go. The positive feelings too, they come and they are allowed to go again. Yes. Otherwise, we live more like this, not in the potential, in the danger of falling into addiction. So, Arthur, connection, love, and significance. Yes. Very nice. Very, very deep, great needs and longings too. That means always a longing. When I have a longing, it's not there yet or not to the extent that I would like it to be. And if it's just not 100% yet, just to say, okay, it can still grow healthily in the future, but it doesn't make me unhappy Because if I'm only happy when I've achieved something, then I've achieved it. Surfing the biggest wave in the world, and suddenly it's already over again. And then I have the next need, and I'm actually chasing after my happiness. Like the cat that turns like that and just runs around in circles and tries to bite its tail. And then the other cat says, the one walking so grandly through the room, so sublime as cats can walk, tail held high. Yes. And then the other cat says, what are you doing there? Well, I'm chasing my tail. Well, why? Because happiness is in there. I have to catch happiness. And every time I catch it, it's already gone again. Then the other cat says, no, no, no. You don't have to chase happiness. Happiness follows you, just like me. Look at my tail. It follows me all the time. Yes, and that's such a great story. That really shows us again, like, yes, it's there, the need. That's what I long for. Good, then I know that I won't find fulfillment on social media nor on television. I find fulfillment when I have a good conversation, when I have a good friend who sticks with me through thick and thin. And that's something that we are unfortunately losing more and more. Real good friends. Yeah, like in Arabic culture, friendships are something very important and they place a very high value on those friendships. They say a friend is someone who is willing to lay down their life for you. Wow. Suddenly our circle of friends probably shrinks, right? But you can already see it's totally lively and really great that you've written all this in the chat. That naturally makes it more important, deeper, and more personal right away. And you see that we have to focus on that. If you're always just looking at your addiction, I have to stop drinking now, I have to stop smoking now, I have to stop, I have to stop, I have to stop, I have to stop, but you don't even know why you're doing it, why there's this love for this substitution, for this replacement thing that ultimately doesn't fulfill you. Yeah, it's only a little bit there, then you need more, you need it more often, and so on and so forth. But here you understand, I'm a human being and I can breathe, but I can also live. And that is important to me. And that's where I might spend more time building up what's real, what's good, what's valuable. Because as Dirk said earlier, for example, if meaning and growth are important to me, then I can invest healthily in this. If that's important to me, then I have to invest in that. If that's important to me, then I have to, so to speak, I can build my life in a way that I invest in that area. So, Viktor Frankl was always the one who said, you are not victims, but you are creators. You make it happen. You create your life. You shape your life. And when I know that, when I feel into it like you have tonight, then you realize, okay, good significance. And then what can I do to gain significance now? Why do I want to have significance? Well, I'm not just a nobody, I'm someone too. And what's the difference now to the person who's chasing after people here? I also have something to say. I have values. I have something too. Yeah, then I think about how I can achieve significance now. Writing a book these days isn't that hard anymore. Or maybe you say, but I need a master's or a doctorate to achieve significance. Well, then off to university, part time, full time, whatever. But you say, yeah, but I want to become a fire chief. Yeah, great. Then go for it. Start now. Sign up for the volunteer fire department. Significance. Well, but I want to be a pilot. Yeah, great. Then go find out about it. Where do they need pilots? What do you have to pay? What do they pay you? How long is the training? So if I have this on my shoulders, right? And then I'm a pilot and I'm traveling the world, then I have significance. Yeah, good, great. That's really good. But let's get started now with the 3-day challenge because it's not so good if you have addictions and you're flying around all over the world. So you see, one thing is related to the other. And we really want to get into self efficacy now, into this action, into these possibilities, so that we can also shape our lives. If you'd like to come along to the Mallorca Heart Retreat, as I said, on the 24th of May until the 31st of May, we'll be there again with a small team. So it'll be about 12 people maximum again, right? And it really looks like this. Everyone who was there can testify to it. Arthur's nodding because he was there. You think you're in a movie somewhere, yeah. We've rented 3 villas and we didn't skimp on that. We took the biggest villas you can possibly get there, right? So that you just feel good in your heart for a start. And then we do community. So we really address those needs that we've looked at here. Yeah. So connection and love, that's really it. Growth, meaning, faith is also part of it. Significance also comes from groups forming and people seeing you. Yeah. It's certainly a change of pace, and you also have a certain certainty that what you book here really has quality. Yes, it's for a whole week. Um, um, and I can put the link in for you too. You can take a look if you say, wow, that's awesome. I want to be part of that. I'll put it in the chat for you again here. Then you'll see all the data that's so important. I hope I put it in the right chat, but I think so. And you can think about it again. Yeah, that's also a really good thing. We'd have a few spots left. One house is, well, one villa is fully booked and the second villa is filling up right now, right? So you can definitely still register if you say, wow, that would be good, like a heart retreat where you address the needs and the deepest longings of my heart. And you also have free time. It's not like I'm doing seminars from morning until late at night. No, my seminar is structured so that we naturally get into the swing of things, that we also incorporate the body, incorporate the mind, incorporate group coaching, incorporate movement and sport according to your abilities. And then also the reflection times in the afternoon so that you can also be by yourself. You can also do something in the group, but that you really have nature, can reflect, what did I learn this morning? So you have in the afternoon then accordingly also free, and in the evening mornings full of input too, and movement and group coaching. So it's very, very multidimensional. Even with a laughter course included, that part is always very funny as well. So it's very, very diverse. We really dive into these topics we have here in different areas and move towards freedom accordingly. Good coaching questions. Time is getting on, but I'd like to address a few coaching questions. I received this at noon today. Super, super. Yes, hats off to this text here. Hey, Kris, I often find it hard to change something, to break habits and addictions, or to follow through with something new because I don't really want to. I know that it's wrong and I absolutely must stop and must not do it again. But then I fail to do it again. Not because I don't really want to. Do you understand what I mean? I think we can all really empathize with that, right? With that person. How can I change that? How do I get myself to want it? It sounds so stupid because it's actually logical and you shouldn't want to harm yourself or the relationship and so on. Wow, so you're speaking straight from our hearts. I think everyone can relate to this text, yes? I've pulled out the highlights again here. I don't want it. It's wrong, says the head. I absolutely must stop, says the belief. I must not do it again, says morality. I can't do it, says the body. Not harming yourself, not harming the relationship. That would be right, wouldn't it? You see, the knot is right here and it's not going to untie itself now. I can guarantee that 100% because everything is set up in a way that gives you the perfect conditions to remain in addiction. Yes, so nothing will move there, no matter how much you want it, no matter what you do. But you see, that's what we talked about earlier. Everyone who arrived more or less on time saw my setup. That means here we are absolutely opposed to any potential or probability of success. You can stand on your head now, nothing is going to change. It takes more than just this evening. I think it takes a 3-day challenge. It takes this reversal we talked about earlier. Yes, we talked about the love for addiction and the disgust for addiction and the wanting and not wanting. That's exactly what it was about. And now it's really set up in a super parallel way around morality, belief, pressure, unreal conditional. It's all floating there. The human being moves through life sincerely, mentally, spiritually, morally, and ethically. But now I have this here. Great example you've brought us here. And I always have to be careful not to let the name slip out because the whole thing is a bit incognito now. But I have to say, you are. I'm including it here because I'm 100% sure that you're not alone. 98% can empathize, can understand exactly what you're going through, right? And that's something that you can carry for 1 year, 5 years, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Carry along with you, or will, because the current structure is tuned to addiction on all levels, right? And it's not just happening in one single area, but actually in all areas. Whether we're talking about psychology, theology, or ethics, yes, all of these fields have become so deeply and intricately entangled with each other right now. That is why the addiction holds so strongly and won't let you out for now. Where you say, no, that's not how it is. Or you say, okay, I'll accept that it's like this. That would be the first step toward improvement. Saying, okay, I'm in the addiction and I'm without strength right now. Yes, if you take a look at that, Alcoholics Anonymous have built a great concept there. And one of the first steps is acknowledgement. And also to say, I'm powerless now. Yes, that sounds so contradictory. But in the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous, that's super important because if you don't recognize that you're addicted and that you're powerless, you won't take the other steps. I mean, there are others too who watched or listened to a seminar last time. Yes, and boom, this message arrives. Yes. Oh, it arrived today at 16:17, day 7 without sweets. Yes, we're celebrating with you. Yes, we're celebrating. He also wrote over the weekend, yes, the pounds are already dropping. I didn't actually intend for them to drop. Yes, he says the women might get jealous. Maybe he means the men saying, what, that too? Yes, but it doesn't always go like that. This here, the person was really open, wrote very candidly, and also described exactly this is my current state. Yes, there's the knot, almost like a triple cord. The knot, yes, really massive, right? And when it's that massive, we need a bit more time to untie it, but it's also solvable with a few principles that we'll address. So that means the 3-day challenge, I'd like to share that with you. Next week on Thursday, for those who want to join in, I'll make myself available for 3 days. And I'll look at these triple cord knots with you, just as we saw in the previous case. I'll put this in the chat so you can take a look at it. I'll be meeting with you on Thursday the 5th, on Tuesday the 10th. We'll have a few days in between, and then again on Thursday, right? For about, let's say, an hour or an hour and a half, like today. We'll look at our challenges in depth or in height, in width, in breadth. And let's see, what do I do now if I felt like this person? I just don't want to do it now. Actually, it's wrong. But I absolutely have to stop. And I mustn't do it ever again. So that was the last time, but I can't do it. I don't want to harm myself and I don't want to damage my relationships either. So we're going to look at exactly that. And in this 3-day challenge, we're going to hear some things crack and crash. And so that you can go there too, whatever it is in your life, whether it's sweets or TV, whether it's alcohol, smoking, gaming, being a workaholic, whatever it is. I don't know what your addiction is. I once met someone who said, Kris, I have an addiction. And I didn't even know this existed. I have to stretch, stretching convulsively and painfully. I mean, she could perform acrobatics with her body. Well, I'm not that flexible. Then she said, look, this isn't healthy anymore. It's an addiction. Yes, so it's really an addiction to stretch myself. So there are all kinds of addictions. Don't be ashamed when you come to the 3-day challenge. We'll be there in a small group. Anyone who wants to can come, and you can even sign up right now this evening. We're not meeting this Thursday, but next Thursday, then again on Tuesday, and once more on Thursday. Everyone who's done a challenge like this before, I did some challenges last summer. They almost flipped out because they said, I expected it to be good, but I didn't expect it to be so powerful. It's just gigantic because everyone there is saying, let's go for it now. Yes. And then we have this group power. Yes. Plus my group coaching that's added to it. And then we're really going to go for it. Yes. And we'll celebrate too, of course. On the 3rd day, there'll be a big celebration because we're celebrating your victories. Yes. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it's just going to be good. Yes. And you'll have a lot of fun, a lot of joy, because you'll see the psychological tools and also what happens in the body. And when you have good guidance, then we can really let it rip. Okay, dear ones, we still have 8 minutes. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them. Do you have any more questions you'd like to ask? I saw a hand here and there, but usually when I'm in the flow like that, then um, I always wait for you to finish accordingly so that I can finish my train of thought. And I'll try to use these last 7 or 8 minutes to get to your questions, to address questions. Dirk, you had your hand up.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for the great seminar. Irina pointed it out to me, said, man, there's something about addiction. And what I hear from you, I always like to take that with me. I had another question about the book you mentioned. You said next week sometime a book is going to print, or tomorrow or something. And where can one order that from you?
Best thing is to write to us. Jani will, I guess she's reaching for the keyboard right now. We'll give you an email address. I guess Jani's putting an email address in now. Yes, she's nodding. And then you can write to Yanni there and say, hey, I'd like to have the book on self-worth. And so it's really a book that you don't just read like that. Of course, you can also just read it, but it's structured like this, the book. In 50 days to my self-worth, that is to my masterful self-worth. So it's really about taking one chapter every day for 50 days. That is one section, and letting it work on your head, heart, and mind. One every day, and then we'll see what happens. Then you could already, on the 20th, 30th, 40th day, whatever, already experience quite a few miracles. In the back, there's also a small workbook section, but we're always happiest when we pass the book on to hear the feedback. So Jani will put the email address in the chat, and then it's your turn.
I'd have another question for you. Namely, I actually have a pastoral care case now that's giving me a bit of pause. Specifically, she's addicted to her phone and plays on it a lot. And because of that, she's suffering. Yes, she wants to get away from it too. So the awareness of the illness is there. But how can one best proceed there? What would you recommend? If someone is really addicted to their phone now, wants to get away from it, but unfortunately doesn't quite manage it.
Yes, well, I'd probably look at it again, like what is the love? What is it there that you enjoy? What you really like? What's nice about this phone? What makes you happy, and maybe even what makes you feel important, or what makes you feel connected? Where do you get your adrenaline, your dopamine rush, whatever, right? So I have advantages. I always have an advantage. Of course, I have 10,000 disadvantages. But first, I have to know the advantages, and then I'd have to know, would you be ready now? Because this has somehow gone out of balance to set these advantages aside for 1, 2, 3 months. So let me give you an extreme example. Didn't know that such a thing existed either. But I once had a client who was addicted to sex. So it wasn't just sex, but actually it was the rush. It wasn't just the physical part, but for her, it was that rush of meeting someone new, of flirting with someone. And we're not together yet, but it's just before getting together, and we already have a physical exchange, namely sexuality. And she kept an Excel list with 25 to 30 people so that she could remember what she had said to whom. And you can live that life for a while. It certainly gives you a powerful rush. But at some point, you will hopefully realize, just as your client, I'll call her a client for now, realized, man, the phone isn't good for me. In her case, it was, man, all these men aren't good for me. Nothing against men, but just so many of them. And you have to coordinate and manage all that, and you probably won't always stick to the whole truth, right? And then what I always really like to do is follow the concept of Elizabeth Lucas, the introduction of fasting. So if Daniel is here and I say, hey, Daniel, fast for 3 days now, he'll say, Kris, you're crazy. Why should I fast? I'm training here. I have muscles here. I have whatever. I'm doing my pull ups and I need protein. Yeah, he won't be so easily enthusiastic about fasting. Yeah. But if we suddenly talk about all the health benefits fasting has, also later for the biceps, for the brain, for self efficacy, and so on and so forth. And I talk to someone and they say, wow, Kris, that sounds really cool. I should try that sometime. I say, hey, try it out right now. Yeah. And suddenly Daniel says, yeah, cool. Now I'll fast for a week or 4 days so that I get past that pain point, and suddenly I have no need for food anymore. So any of you who has fasted for a week knows day number 3, crazy enough, right? When all those things are being broken open, yeah, you think you're dying. Day number 4, day number 5, day number 6, day number 7, you have absolutely no desire for food. Yeah. And that's exactly where we want to get to with addiction too. So recently I briefly mentioned the one who was addicted to women in boots, also a sex addiction. Yeah. Elizabeth Lucas also initiated fasting there. But fasting isn't like, oh, I'm poor and I'm weak and I'm stupid and I can't do anything and so on. But you'd first have to stabilize your client so that she has a certain stability. Then you'd have to look at her attitudes. What attitude does she have? What are the benefits? And then, so to speak, we call it a kind of attitude modulation in coaching. So, how do I get from this to that? How can I also manage this short circuit we talked about today? And then, well, that she then says, okay, now I'm fasting like this. Like, a client of mine had an Excel list of 25 to 30 men she met regularly. That must be incredibly stressful, right? Imagine dating 3 people. That's already stressful. But now you're dating 25 people. Yeah. But she got out of it, led her to fasting, a firm decision, not like, I want to, I don't want to, I want to, I don't want to, but like, I'm doing this now. Yeah, there was a weekend in between and then a call. Kris, you won't believe it. I've made the decision now. And once we're at that point, yeah, that deep innermost decision, once we've guided them there as a coach or counselor, whatever, yeah, once I've guided the person there, yeah, then things actually proceed quite well. Then we just need to work through it a bit and see that we get out of this, however long the addiction lasts. Yeah, with her, we also did 3 months of fasting and then the system settled back in. Now the body has calmed down, the psyche has calmed down, the kicks, the adrenaline kicks, dopamine, everything has calmed down. Now she was at peace again. And now she's found her Prince Charming, whom she'll be marrying soon. She's engaged, by the way. And now Prince Charming is here. Yeah. Prince Charming couldn't be found under those conditions before. Yeah. That means I'd probably take a similar approach with your client as well. If that was all a bit fast, it's being recorded, you'll have to rewind it a bit. Like, what's Kris saying? What's Kris saying? What's Kris saying? Yeah, it's clear. It's a larger concept, requires a bit more intuition, but you're not exactly a novice either. And you've been familiar with your field for quite some time now. But that's how I would proceed. Yeah. So ultimately, guiding my client there, checking for stability, mindset modulation, the decision to fast, and then close coaching, like we're doing now in the 3-day seminar. Yeah, we're going through the points I'm talking about right now. And then let's call it a tight knit community. Yeah. Because during these 3 days of withdrawal or 5 days a week, you'll have to see on your phone how long it is. With the tight knit community, I'm just much stronger then.
Is it also easier for her then, right, to get over it during this fasting period?
Yeah, as I said, if I just introduce a fasting period, they'll say, Agnes, now you have to fast. And you'll think, huh, why should I fast now? Yeah. No, it doesn't work like that. We have to do the groundwork to then bring about this decision to lead to the invitation. And then we enter into this process, right?
Okay, thanks.
Yes, I hope that helped you a little bit. Thank you. Are there any other questions from you that have come up? 516170.
Yes. So last time the name was visible, Michael, and now I have a different phone. And I don't know where the number comes from, but so I'm now 516170. You mentioned at the very beginning that you're often at the Ark. Well, I've been there several times, and Reich Schliemann recommended that you're doing something now. That is how we even get in touch. I met Reich up there. I have done a New Start treatment there 3 or 4 times. And maybe you can tell us a bit about it, or when you are there, or what you do up there, because I understand you are usually in Austria.
Exactly, that is right. I will just give you the website address now so that you are all on the same page. It is www.diearchie.de. And I'm involved in the depression treatments. Right, the depression treatment starts on February 22nd and lasts for 2 weeks. Depression treatment or burnout treatment, some people come for the burnout treatment too. The Archer has this super brilliant program from massages to knife treatments to good food and exercise. And I am the one who gives the lectures, not all of them, but most of the lectures. And the one-on-one coaching, Dr. Gunther Hanke, he gives the medical lectures. Or Manuel Hanke gives the physical lectures. But I do everything related to the psyche or spiritual science. Those are my areas, and I do the one-on-one coaching. Yes, so this time you have the chance to join on February 22nd or also on October 11th. Yes, October 11th or February 22nd. I will be up there this year. So I am usually always up at the Archer for the depression treatments.
I am asking so specifically because at the Archer, even on my first visit, I attended so many lectures, like, well, rarely so concentrated in any period before. And I learned so much there that I said, I have to listen to that again. Christian, who knows a lot about herbs and nature, also contributed a great deal to that. And I am full of admiration. I have to say that honestly. What really tempts me to ask you even more is that you have learned so much through Viktor Frankl and his successor, just like Rake has. And what I already noticed in the video the other day, or even during our Zoom call, really stood out to me. And even now, there is a system behind it. Yes, and I am really curious to learn a bit more about how I am leading myself by the nose without even realizing it. And you, in a concise, razor-sharp analysis and in a wonderfully humanly pleasant way, you convey how one can get on one's own track.
That is true. It is so important. And that is why I founded this Happiness Mind program a few years ago. Right? We meet every week, just like we did now or last week. Every week we meet for an hour. And then there's always these bits of life wisdom or psychological wisdom or logotherapeutic wisdom or even 25 years of wisdom from my coaching. Now, I haven't tasted everything there is to taste yet, but I have been able to see quite a lot. And if you're interested, Jenny has already shared our email address, which is officehappinessmind@gmail.com. If you're interested in the Happiness Mind program, the 1-year program, then go ahead and contact us about that too. So you see, we have various options. You can go to Northern Germany, you can go to Mallorca, you can do the 3-day challenge or join Happiness Mind. The main thing is that you do something. That is the most important thing. And these psychological, logotherapeutic Viktor Frankl insights, you just don't find them elsewhere. Even when I visit companies, they have thousands of training sessions, but they tell me, Mr. Lenart, this is something we haven't experienced in this way before. That's why the business world and companies are very interested in these lectures. And I enjoy it. It brings me joy. It's a pleasure when you show up somewhere, whether it's in Mallorca or at the Archie or in the Happiness Mind program or during the 3-day challenge. However I can help you, I want to help you. That's why there are so many offers and possibilities. I hope there's something in there where you say, I'll take that, I'm joining in. I'd be happy if we could get a nice little group together next week on Thursday. Sign up quickly and promptly. We have a huge price reduction over the next few days too. Starting February 1st or 2nd, I think it gets more expensive on the 2nd. So use the offer or come to the Archer, Mallorca, or Happiness Mind. I look forward to seeing you. I'm glad if these lectures I've given you here are helpful to you. And last time we had 1 hour and 50. We're already at 1 hour, 36 today. You see, I'm enjoying it. You're enjoying it. And that's the beauty of it. That's why we come together. And even those watching later will enjoy it, I believe. So I'll say thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. Thanks for...
Wait, one more question.
Yes. There are 2 more questions. 51670, Michael. And then Dirk. And maybe someone else who hasn't spoken tonight has a question you're welcome to ask. But Michael, you go first, then Dirk. And then maybe there's a third person?
Thank you very much. So with everything you explained earlier, you went through it very slowly and clearly. With the variety of what you offer, that was so fast just now, my head is already spinning. Could you briefly explain what you offer and how one might be able to use it? Because I mean, this isn't supposed to be a sales event, but conversely, if you pique interest and it's so likable, then I'd be interested to know what you offer, how it works, and maybe what it costs, just so one has a general idea.
Very good. I'd be happy to do that for you. I'll put it in the chat again, Michael.
Yes.
I'll put the Mallorca retreat in there. If you click there, you'll also see the dates and the price. Mallorca retreat.
So I'm just going to copy all of this from left to right, okay?
Yes, exactly. That would be great. And then the 3-day challenge.
Or you could, of course, also send an email. I don't know if you have that or how we registered, so that we can look at these things in peace over the next few days.
Exactly. We can also summarize it for you so that Gianni puts it all in an email again. Then you can click through it at your leisure.
Yes, that would, of course, be the easiest. Then you don't have to go back and forth now.
Exactly.
I'll take the 150.
We'd be happy to. So we'll summarize it all again. Gianni will put it in for you and send it to you. And then you'll have all the options that we offer. And then you can take from the most delicious buffet whatever suits you. Then I can always eat everything. That's not possible. But maybe there's something there where you say, that's the one for me. Very good, Michael. Thank you very much. Dirk, another question. And then I'll ask the question again. If any of you still have a question, I don't want to cut you off. Dirk?
Yes, it's already been taken care of because you've now included the 3-day challenge. That was Irina's question. And as I can see right now, thank you.
Super, super, super. Very, very good. It's also become visible now. Regina, Kissy, Maggie, Arthur, Victor, Agnes, Ulrich, Andrea, Dorit. Anyone else have a question? I saw that Tabia has made quite a bit of progress. I think that's cool. I think it's really cool that you're active here at the same time. It was a bit thinner. Now it's gotten a bit bigger. What's it going to be? A sweater? A scarf?
It's going to be a headband.
A headband? Yeah, cool. Very, very good. The cold times are still to come. It was a pleasure. Victor, you were there. Michael, Dirk, Arthur, Agnes, Janny. You even had your cameras on. I think it's super awesome. And also everyone who was there anyway, even if the camera was off, I also thought it was super awesome that you listened and that you stayed until the end. I always find it so respectful and appreciative when someone stays until the end. So thank you, thank you, thank you all. Thank you for the time that you took for yourselves again today. And I'm happy. I'm happy, Regina.
But we'll still get the video, right?
You'll get that too. So you see, there will actually be many links that you might find in the email, dear Dirk. We'll give you everything we have. Very nice. So, dear ones, maybe we'll see each other as soon as next Thursday. Or in May or in February on the Arc, or I'm looking forward to it in any case. In that sense, take care. Have a very good evening. Thanks, Victor. Thanks, Dirk. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the special signs you're sending. Take care, and we'll see you then.
Thanks, Ulrich.
Thanks, Ulrich. Thanks to you too. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Bye.